African. Truly African. Truly African. Truly African. Truly African. Truly African.
The Socialist Movement of Ghana, SMG, invites all progressive and revolutionary forces to the observance of Ghana's Day of Shame on Thursday, February 24th, 2022. 56 years has passed since the Central Intelligence Agency, CIA of the USA, and its local collaborators launched a futile attack on the African Revolution. This Day of Shame will be marked with a public forum on the theme 56 years after the overthrow of Nkrumah, the state of the Ghanaian economy. The event will be chaired by Comrade Tretri Opoku, convener of the Socialist Movement of Ghana. The speakers will be Professor Jane Nana Opoku Ajiman, first female vice-chancellor of a public university in Ghana.
The American sort of secret army, if you like, together with similar organizations in Britain, in Germany, and so on, had plotted together with traitorous forces within inside our own military to overthrow and destroy the First Republic and replace it with a gang of people who were willing to do the bidding of the West, to destroy our efforts at self-reliance, to destroy our efforts at leading the transformation not only of our country, but of Africa on the basis of self-reliance, on the basis of dignity, on the basis of fraternity with all peoples of the world. The coup succeeded. And it is that event which every year, for the last 20-something years, we have commemorated as Ghana's Day of Shame. So once again, I'd like to welcome all of you here for this event. It's important, again, today, because there are echoes that we must be aware of. A war started today in Ukraine. A war which has been provoked, which has been driven by the aggression of these same NATO powers, the biggest bunch of colonialists, the biggest bunch of imperialists the world has ever seen, that has driven the world more than once to the brink of nuclear holocaust. Their agenda of encircling and isolating Russia and rendering it powerless, controlling its resources, and clearly opening up a door in their further aggression against China, pushed the Russian people to the brink. And we now have a hot confrontation taking place. God knows where it will lead. It's a dangerous, very, very dangerous situation for everybody in the world. But it's an important reflection of the battles that the First Republic, under the leadership of Kwame Nkrumah, sought to fight. It's a reflection of the tragedies that have been possible because of events like the 24th of February, 1966. This is the world that was created, partly on the back of those events. So, people ask, why do we continue to commemorate this event? Why do we continue to draw attention to what we ourselves say is a day of shame? And the answer is, as I've just said, that we live in the context of struggle. There is a fundamental confrontation taking place in the world, which has been taking place for the last 200 years at least, in which a small group of people, having conquered the resources first of Western Europe, then spread their tentacles around the world in an effort to control the economy of the entire world. They want to control the productive forces, the labor that we all expend to provide our daily bread, the resources that we depend on, that we exercise our labor on. This is the process that led to slavery, that led to colonialism, that left us with neocolonialism and a Cold War, and once again with a return to global conflict. And in the context of that struggle, truth is important. Truth is a weapon for all the ordinary peoples of the world who seek a path of peace, who seek their right to development and their right to dignity and fraternity. Truth is an important weapon, because if you don't know the truth, you can't defend yourself. History is important. The struggle for historical truth is important. And right now it's an existential struggle. As we've seen, the powers that are locking forces in Ukraine now are nuclear armed powers. It doesn't take a deliberate decision, it just takes an accident. And what we're seeing now could change into Armageddon. So, in our efforts, making sure that we all understand and utilize the truth about what happened in 1966 is important, not just because we are nostalgic and sentimental about Nkrumah, but because the battles that he fought are battles that continue today. And the weapons that he tried to use, the struggle for peace, the struggle for justice, mobilizing ordinary people, remain the weapons that we must harness today. I've mentioned Ukraine. Okay. There are other examples that I could give, and the critical example that we wanted to look at today is just the state of the economy in Ghana today. Where were we in 1966? What was the direction that as a people, as a country, we were walking? Where are we today? It's ironic that the forces that undermined organized propaganda, organized dissent, and eventually organized weapons to overthrow the First Republic are now telling us about a Ghana beyond aid. It struck them that there might be an alternative path. But even then, they are not approaching that on the basis of any central long-term planning. It operates just as a slogan. Okay. So we have to deal with all of these things and to educate ourselves. And so we want to talk about the economy 56 years after the overthrow of the Republic. Program that we have lined up for today, two capable and distinguished speakers will okay. Is that better? Okay. Who will speak to the topic? I'll introduce in a second. We will have an interlude in between the two addresses, and that interlude will be a poem. During that performance, we will pass a basket around. You for those who are in a position to do so, to make a contribution as a socialist forum, a socialist movement, which is principally about educating and mobilizing people to get us back to a point where we have the social force to reassert control over the state and to use the state as an instrument to pursue development, aka. So we will ask those who are able during the interlude to make whatever contributions you can. Okay. We will start now with our first speaker. And unless you've been living under a rock the last few years, Professor Comrade Nana Opoku-Agyeman is probably very well known to you. Nkrumahist. In fact, as we were sitting in the room there, Comrade Akisoya was telling us stories about her leadership of certain our capacity to think and resolve our own problems without reliance on the sort of Western intellectual capitalist academy. Okay. I've heard her speak on those issues. I've seen her act on those issues, and I know she has a lot to say. As a professional academic, she has also risen to the rank of vice. You all know that she was the first female vice chancellor of a major university in Ghana. Since she left the university, she has been active in national politics. She's a leading figure in the National Democratic Congress. She was, in fact, its vice presidential candidate in the 2020 election. She remains now a member of the party's political committee. So I would like you all to join me in welcoming Comrade Nana to the podium. Thank you.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I think by so doing, I've addressed everyone. And therefore, I can go on to thank you all for being here this evening and for donating your time to share with me. I want to begin by conveying my gratitude to the socialist movement of Ghana for this kind invitation, which I consider to be a great honor. It is a delight to join in conversations that generally focus on the Ghanaian described as the greatest African of all time, our first president of South Defo, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. Becoming the first female vice chancellor in Ghana at the University of City, which was inspired by Nkrumah's all-encompassing vision, remains a true badge of honor. I commend the SNG for the tremendous strides you have made over the years to advance the cause of the ideological left and mobilizing communists globally to attain a fair and just society. Colleagues and friends, the theme for this evening's commemoration is 50 years after the overthrow of Nkrumah, the state of the Ghanaian economy. To better appreciate where we are, we need first to consider where we have come from. And as Nkrumah once said, those who judge us merely by the heights we have achieved would do well to remember the depths from which we started. And as Nelson Mandela would express it in the title of his biography, it's been a long walk. It's been a long walk indeed of two forms of physical enslavement, of 113 years of colonialism, of neo-colonialism, and of its lingering effects. There are many good scholars that recall these experiences and explain why we are still walking and we are yet to find a resting place. We have wandered long enough. We must stop. 50 years after his overthrow, Kwame Nkrumah still invites extreme reactions in some in this country. Some either love or hate him. The pendulum has yet to find its resting place in the middle. Maybe it might not for a while. But who are we talking about? Are we talking about an icon, an enigma, a visionary, a nationalist, a Pan-Africanist, whatever you want to call him, and others? His memory still clings to the national consciousness, and by itself it speaks volumes. This man was also human. He obviously did not get everything right, but we must also remember that he did not get everything wrong. We are still discussing him, and his visionary achievements remain second to none, more than half a century after his overthrow. Kwame Nkrumah never dies. Nkrumah founded the Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences to bring together intellectuals from different fields. He knew that the problems facing the country are not limited to any one subject. They require interdisciplinary approaches. Long before STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, was to become popular, Kwame Nkrumah had established the University of Science Education, which we know today as the University of Cape Coast, prior to which he had established the Kwame